let's talk about Fit Finlay.
Hey, and by the way, I don't want to interrupt, but one thing about in Europe was when I got there was the legend of him breaking thumbs. I mean, that's a pretty cool legend, by the way.
Well, I got to hear it. Tell me the story.
Have you never heard that?
No.
Really?
No.
I'm not meaning to be incredulous, but yeah, that was one of the big things about Finley. They kind of downplayed it over the years. Finley would break a guy's thumb. And understand, this is going to sound terrible, but remember, it was a different time. Guys protected the business, and guys would do things that would, you get arrested for now. But when guys mess with Finley in bars, I mean, Finley protected the business. Finley didn't lose fights, by the way, but he would break a guy's thumb. He'd grab a guy's thumb, and if the guy was saying business is fake, and he would tell his friend, said, yeah, your friend over there, and the guy's now squirming. He goes, can you tell that I'm hurting you or not? And the guy would say, no. He goes, okay, so you don't know if it's fake or not. And Finley would snap his thumb. Finley broke some thumbs, literally broke thumbs. It's a huge legend, which the guys loved him for. People kind of downplay it now because it was mean. That was, it was a different world. Guys were messing with him. Guys were being assholes, telling him wrestling's fake. And Finley would make a big deal out of it. And he's a legend for it. The guys loved him for that. It was like, he'll break your thumb. It was great.
Something else that's great. I know we're talking about Finley, but I got to mention this because they just broke this news as you and I are recording. We're live here, pal, somethingtowrestle.com. The Miz is the new host of American Gladiators.
Yes.
Miz wrote, the 10-year-old in me is screaming. Huge thanks to MGM and Amazon Prime Video for trusting me with this iconic legacy. We're honoring the original and bringing fresh energy to a whole new generation. American Gladiators is back. Now, I know they relaunched this 15 years ago, but the American Gladiators I grew up on was badass.
It was.
What do you think of the OG American Gladiators?
Oh my God, I watched it religiously. Yeah, just religiously. I thought it was awesome. I always wanted to, I don't know if I wanted to be a competitor or be a gladiator. I'm glad I was neither, but I loved it. I remember it. God, I've seen Ray Holland a few times at some of these shows. I guess she was Zap or who it was. Also the movie with John Ritter. So I know all the old American Gladiators. Not personally. I had met her at a signing, but I know all their names and everything. I loved it. Congratulations to Miz. It's wonderful. When Miz first came in, I said something about what do you want to be? He goes, I may be the next Ryan Seacrest or something like that. I thought, that's strange. Then I thought, you know what? That's actually a pretty good goal. and he is. He's working out for him.
We got to spend just a minute and talk about a pretty gnarly match that Finley had back in '99. It was a hardcore match in WCW that went awry. They were doing crazy stunts, and occasionally crazy things happen. He goes through a Formica table, and it cuts him up so badly that the spot actually does nerve damage, and he loses the feeling in the bottom half of one of his legs. And when he comes back for limited matches in 2000, he's not quite the same. But when he comes back full-time in 2006, he hid whatever this injury was so well that anyone who didn't know the backstory wouldn't even be able to tell. And I know that this is such a weird sentence that a guy who's such a hard-hitting dude, the thing that messes him up isn't an errant shot from this performer or that performer. Nerve damage for going through a Formica table, golly, dude, what a fluke injury. And to be able to overcome that and come back to a point where people couldn't really even tell, that's a testament to Fitz old school, rub some dirt on it and keep going, is it not?
100%. And by the way, when he came back in 2006, that meant he had been in the business for 32 years at that point. Yes. And almost lost his leg and was covering it up and you couldn't tell. I mean, that Finley to me, you talk about Vader being a what if. Finley's a what if to me. I wish Vince would have got him. They wouldn't have done as much during the Hogan era because he was all so big on just size. But after that, when Bret Hart and Shawn and Vince realized, the guys that could work, it doesn't matter if they're, 6'8", 300 pounds. That era, Finley, man, that guy could have printed money, absolutely printed money. I wish the U.S. would have seen him. I read his Wikipedia getting ready for this show today, And almost the first part about Europe was just kind of glossed over. Like he's more famous for going into WCW and all bullshit. That man sold out arena after arena, night after night for 20-something years straight in Europe and England. I mean, that guy did it all over there. I wish the world had gotten to see that Finley rather than the Finley in 2006 was great, but that Finley in early 90s, that was an alien. That guy was different level.
It is interesting to see how differently your opinion as a wrestling fan is about Fit Finlay. And I think a lot of that comes from how long you've been watching wrestling and how old you are. Because depending on when you first see Fit Finlay, you may know him for different things. Like from what I understand, when the WWF bought WCW, Fit is one of the agents / producers / coaches that comes over. And it seems like almost immediately he endears himself to everyone on the roster. So I think there is a contingent of wrestling fans who, if they missed all the European stuff and they missed all the WCW stuff, they may have first heard about him through the newsletters as being an agent. Tell us about Fit the agent.
Fit was one of the best agents we've ever had. And, I guess he's still an agent, so he's not one of the best we ever had. Yeah, he's still there, I guess. I guess that unless when I go to NXT, I see Dave's either there or somewhere around. But he was fantastic. And what he would do is Fit's a really smart guy. He would tailor matches to people's strength. A lot of agents are trainers. When they train people, they train them all the same way, according to what your strengths are, not according to what their strengths are, the people that you're working with. Finley would look at them and would ask them questions. What do you like, similar to what Vince would do, by the way, when he wanted to create characters. Like, what do you do? What are your hobbies? All this different stuff. Finley would figure out what this person's interest is because that's where their passion lies. And that's how Finley would build their character around their passions, about what he knows they can do. And he'd make their moveset in accordance to what they could do, not in accordance to what a robot can do, that you just need to, assembly line, put these guys out and teach everybody to do this, graduation, go have fun. Finley tailored everything. He was I guess still is, a terrific agent.
Why do you think some talents can transition so well from in-ring to being an agent and maybe others can't? I'm not going to disparage any other names, but it does feel like there's some other great legendary in-ring performers who most people would put on a list of the best in-ring performers of all time. And maybe they tried their hand at being a producer and they were there for like a cup of coffee and it was just not for them. But then other guys like Fit, it feels like he just he was great at in-ring and now he's great at telling people how to be great at in-ring. It's coming up with finishes and things like that. What is the differentiator between the two?
It's something, you see it in sports. Michael Jordan never became a coach, and maybe he could have been a great coach. Larry Bird was a great coach, but you had guys that came out that tried to coach that were great players, and they never were great coaches. And you have some guys who were not good players that end up becoming great coaches. So it's just, there's not a correlation, I don't believe. I believe it helps that you have 3,000 or 4,000 matches and you drew money. I think that makes a big difference. Finley was a top guy everywhere he's been. And there's a difference in putting a match together that is a good match and putting a match together that draws money. And, that's kind of hard to do unless you've done it. There are guys that can do it, but it's harder. It's harder unless you've been there. Finley's been there. And I think that's one of the differentiators between him and other people. I don't know exactly what it is that makes a great agent out of either a great worker or a so-so worker, because I've seen both become great agents. I've seen, great workers become horrible agents, and I've seen so-so workers become great agents. So there's not really a commonality. It's just something in people that's very analytical. And I think Finley is that. He's very analytical.
We're helping people save money at savewithconrad.com. And with all the economic turmoil going on the last few weeks and all the uncertainty it brings, here's one thing that is certain. Your home is still worth more than what you paid for it. According to the Zillow Home Value Index, the value of your home is still going up year over year, which means you're most likely sitting on untapped equity. Did you purchase your home or refinance it a few years back and got one of those really low COVID interest rates, and now maybe you're worried about giving it up? Well, here's something to think about. While the interest on your mortgage payment is low, the interest you're paying on your credit card balances is most likely wiping out those savings and then some. So what's more important, clinging on to that low rate or saving money each month? Let's talk about using the equity you've built up in your home and rolling all that debt into one lower monthly payment. Someone who just did that was our man Andrew, a maintenance worker in Tennessee. He needed to pay off some debt, and he needed to get a new roof and some new floors for his home. So instead of taking out more debt to do these upgrades, he came to SaveWithConrad.com to use the equity he's built up in his home and do a refinance. SaveWithConrad.com helped him accomplish all of those upgrades he wanted on his home. He paid off his debt, and now he's saving over $400 a month. He even got to skip his next 2 house payments. And you can do it too. Go right now to SaveWithConrad.com and let my team run the numbers for you for free. There's no cost and no obligation. And if we can't help you save some money today, we won't waste your time. It doesn't cost a thing to look, and you've got nothing to lose except some crazy high interest rates on those credit cards. You know you can do better. Start saving money today for your family with my family at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.